Okay, for those of you who need the video for 6.62 Part 2, the other four men that played a role in the rise of the Roman Republic, then we're going to go over that really quickly right now. So you need to take notes on the rest of your table and color code them. And as you can see, mine are already done, so that's kind of a hint to you that there are only 2 people on there that are mythical and the rest are all historical. Alright, so we are working on Cicero right now. Okay, and I'm just going to go through this time and give you the facts so that you can get them written down. We're going to be hearing these people's names later as we go through our unit. Alright, Cicero. He tried to stop the chaos in Rome's government. He was a philosopher and a public speaker. He wanted the upper class to make Rome a better place. Alright, whoops, sorry about that. Alright. He also wanted to limit the power of the generals, which would not go over very well with the generals. He wanted more support given to the Senate, and all these things that he had in his mind, wanting the upper class to make Rome a better place, wanting to limit the power of the generals, wanting to give support more to the senators, his ideas did not work out so well. Alright, so let me scroll back up here so you can see this. He tried to stop the chaos that was going on in Rome's government. He was a philosopher and a public speaker. He wanted the upper class to make Rome a better place, limit the power of the generals, support given to the Senate. Ideas didn't work out so well. Alright. Okay, that is all the notes you need on Cicero. Alright, let's move to Hadrian next and save Julius Caesar and Augustus to last. Alright, Hadrian. Hadrian was a Roman emperor. He banned the practice of Jewish rituals. Okay, he was not liked very much by the Jews. Hadrian caused a revolt between the Jewish and the Roman people. Right, he was not a very good person to the Jews. Hadrian's army crushed the Jewish revolt, destroyed Jerusalem, and forced the Jews out of the city. Okay, when he forced the Jews out of the city, he made them live outside the city, and they could only come back into the city one time a year. Okay, so as you can see, I only have this one slide on Hadrian. Unlike the Romans, the Jews did not worship many gods. The Jewish people were monotheistic, the Romans were polytheistic. So some of the Romans thought that the Jews were insulting Rome's gods by not praying to them. But the Romans did not attempt to ban Judaism in the empire. They allowed the Jews to keep practicing their religion as they pleased. However, it created political conflict by rebelling against Roman rule. So the Judean territory in which most Jews lived had been conquered by Rome in 63 BC. Since then, many of the Jews had resented the Roman rule. They did not want to answer to outsiders. As a result, the Jews rebelled against the Romans in 66 to 70 AD, and there were other disturbances as well, but each time the Jews were defeated. By the early 100s, the Romans had become more hostile toward the Jews, treating them harshly, taxing them heavily, and the feelings that the Jews were having toward the Romans was growing increasingly bitter. Matters just got worse when Emperor Hadrian banned the practice of certain Jewish rituals. He thought the ban would end the Jewish people's desire for independence and cause them to give up Judaism. Instead, his actions made the Jews even more upset. Okay? Once again, they rebelled, and this time Hadrian decided to end the rebellion once and for all. He crushed the Jewish revolt. He destroyed Jerusalem and forced the Jews to leave the city. Then, to make matters worse, the Romans went in and built a new city on the ruins of Jerusalem, their holy city, and brought settlers from other parts of the empire to live there. Jews were then forbidden to enter this new city more than once a year. Frustrated and angry, many of the Jews moved into other parts of the Roman world. Okay, so Hadrian was not a very nice guy. Okay, now we've already talked about Cicero because we took just very few notes on him. Some of the Romans tried to stop the chaos in Rome's government. One of them was Cicero, a philosopher and a public speaker. He called on the upper class to work together to make Rome a better place. He argued that power should be limited to the generals and they should give more support to the Senate to restore checks and balances, but the government didn't change. Okay, his ideas didn't go anywhere. Alright, so meanwhile, several generals were working to take over the government. One of the most powerful generals was Julius Caesar. Okay, so now we are on Caesar. Caesar was a great general. He was admired for his bravery and skill in battle, and his soldiers respected him for treating them well. He conquered nearly all of Gaul, which is today France. His military successes made him a key figure in Roman politics. In addition, he became a strong leader. Caesar was also an excellent speaker, and he won the support of many he won many supporters with his speeches in the Roman Forum. He also had some powerful friends, one of them being Pompey and the other one being Crassus. Together, the three of them ruled. All right, let's stop right there and take some notes. All right, Julius Caesar. First of all, he was one of the most powerful generals. He treated his men fairly, and they respected him for that. He conquered nearly all of Gaul, also known as France. He was an excellent speaker, and he ruled Rome with Pompey and Crassus for 10 years. Alrighty, they were some powerful friends that he had. He made himself dictator for life. Now, this did not go over very well in Rome at all. Okay, we're going to switch back here. The partnership lasted for about 10 years, but after his conquest in Gaul, Caesar was so popular that his friends were jealous of him. Pompey's allies in the Senate ordered Caesar to give up his command of his armies because they wanted Pompey to control Rome alone. Caesar refused. Instead, he led his troops back to Rome for a confrontation. Once they crossed the Rubicon River and he crossed that boundary into Italy, he knew there was no turning back and there would be war when he got to Italy. Sure enough, there was. There was a civil war. War was certain since Roman law said no general could enter Italy with his army. Pompey and his allies fled to Italy. They didn't think they had enough troops to defeat Caesar. Caesar's army chased Pompey for over a year. They finally defeated him in Greece. After Caesar returned to Rome in 45 BC, he made himself dictator for life. There's where I got that note. Although Caesar worked to improve Roman society, many people resented the way that he gained power. They were also concerned that Caesar wanted to become the king of Rome. The senators were especially angry with Caesar because he had reduced their power and they feared growing strength. So on March the 15th, which was called the Ides of March, March the 15th, a date known as the Ides of March, a group of senators went down on the Senate floor when Caesar was speaking and they stabbed him to death. They stabbed him 23 times and killed him on the Senate floor. And that date is still referred to as on March 15th. You will hear people say, beware of the Ides of March. Now, supposedly on his way to the Roman Forum that day, an oracle stopped him and told him, you really shouldn't go today. It might not be such a good idea for you to go. Caesar went on anyways. Maybe he should have listened to that oracle. All right, we're moving back to our notes. Okay, when he declared himself or tried to declare himself dictator for life, the senators did not like this. They thought that Caesar was becoming too powerful, and on March the 15th of 44 BC, they stabbed him to death on the Senate floor. March the 15th is called the Ides of March. All right, moving to Augustus. All right, here we go. Augustus. Augustus was a leader of Rome. His accomplishments were: he created a fire department, he created a police force, he built and repaired aqueducts and bridges, he built roads, he was Rome's first emperor. Rome's first emperor. Okay, by the way, it's going back to Caesar for just a minute. Julius Caesar conquered Gaul, which was France, adding to the empire, and this is a painting of one of the leaders, one of the Gallic leaders in France, that is surrendering to Caesar by dropping weapons at Caesar's feet. Okay, this is Caesar right here. All right, another one is the death of Caesar. Caesar was stabbed to death on March the 15th of 44 BC. To the Romans, March the 15th was called the Ides of March, and before Caesar was killed, he was warned by the oracle to beware of the Ides of March. All right, Augustus. When did he live? 63 BC to 14 AD. He lived in Rome. He was a leader of Rome. He made many improvements to the city. He created a fire department, police force. He built aqueducts and prepared old ones to increase Rome's water supply. He worked on improving and expanding Rome's road networks. He was also Rome's first emperor. Okay, that's where our notes stopped in the video just a few seconds ago. Augustus is one of the most significant figures in Roman history. Although single-handedly he changed the nature of Roman government forever, Augustus is known for his great monuments he had built around Rome. He built a new forum that held statues, monuments, temples, And in writing about his life, Augustus wrote, "I found Rome a city of brick, and I left it a city of marble." He wanted Rome to be able to show their power and dominance, so he had the city built out of marble, or he had lots of buildings in the city built out of marble. All right, so let's switch back here real quick. He was Rome's first emperor. He built a new forum, the center of Rome's government, the Roman Forum. Caesar adopted him as his son. His name was not always Augustus, it was Octavian. All right? Now, he did not like what had happened to Caesar, so he worked on getting the people, the senators who had killed Caesar, he worked to get them punished for what they did. All right, so let's slide on back here. Two leaders emerged to take control of Roman politics. One was Caesar's former assistant, Mark Antony, and the other was Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, later called Augustus. Antony and Octavian worked to punish the people who had killed Caesar. At Caesar's funeral, Antony delivered a famous speech that turned even more Romans against the killers, and shortly afterwards, he and Octavian set out with an army to try to avenge Caesar's death. Their army caught up with the killers near Philippi in northern Greece, and in 42 BC, Antony and Octavian soundly defeated their opponents. After the battle, the leaders of the plot to kill Caesar, including Brutus, killed themselves. All right, and then after the Battle of Philippi, Octavian returned to Italy while Antony went east to fight Rome's enemies. Now, this is where it turns into As the Roman World Turns, a soap opera. In Turkey, Antony met Cleopatra, the queen of Egypt, and the two fell in love. Now, there was a little problem with this. That is because Antony was married to Octavian's sister, Octavia. Antony divorced his wife, Octavian's sister, to be with Cleopatra. That was not a good thing, because Octavian saw this divorce as an insult to his sister, to himself, and to his family. So Antony's behavior led to a civil war in Rome. Octavian sent a fleet to attack Antony. Antony sailed out to meet, and the two forces met just west of Greece in the Battle of Actium. Antony's fleet was defeated, but he escaped back to Egypt with Cleopatra, and there the two of them committed suicide so they wouldn't be taken prisoner. Now, I do believe that Antony stabbed himself with his sword and killed himself. Cleopatra, no, not so much. Hers was probably a little bit more painful. She had her maidservants go get a huge clay jug, pot, vessel that you might want to say, and poisonous snakes were placed inside that vessel, and Cleopatra lowered her hand into that jar, and the snakes bit her, and that is how she died. She died by a snake bite, poisonous snake bite, and it was probably an agonizing death. With Antony's death, Octavian became Rome's sole ruler, and over the next few years he gained power. Octavian announced that he was giving up all of his power to the Senate, but in reality, he kept a whole lot of it. The Senate gave him, he took the title as first citizen, and the Senate gave him a new name, Augustus, which means revered one. The historians consider the naming of Augustus to mark the end of the Roman Republic and the beginning of the Roman Empire. Let me say that one more time because that's huge. Modern historians consider the naming of Augustus to mark the end of the Roman Republic and the beginning of the Roman Empire. All right, let's go back to our notes here because there's a few more about Augustus Octavian that we need to get on here. He called himself a first citizen, and I put 3 stars on this next one. His name, Augustus, represents a time period when Rome switched from a republic to an empire. That is very important. You need to know this. You need to remember this. Okay? All right, get those notes taken, and we will be talking about this more as we go through our unit. Okay, see you, bye.